would be 10% bleach solution. And then we use we call them bread bags that we put any bodily fluids on for the laundry, and we separate it from any other linens or anything with those cleaning rags.
Okay, and also wear some goggles and probably allow the employee to go and change the uniform, even though it is underneath that gown. Okay. And what is the procedure when you are receiving food that is a little bit dented or has like ice crystals on it? Do you reject the food, or what do you do?
So with the way we work with Cisco, we do a rigorous receiving. We temp a certain amount of items. We also do a visual inspection of the items. If anything is damaged, it gets returned on the spot. We don't accept anything in damaged containers or off temp. Unless, milk and some shellfish and eggs, we can take up to 45,
Yes.
as long as they're cooled down to 41 within a couple hours. And everything else, the 41 or below, and then the frozen product is coming frozen. So that's part of our receiving standards. And then anything that doesn't meet the standards is rejected at the time of receiving.
Okay, but just also make sure you get credit, because if you just simply discard, then you don't.
Yeah, it goes on a rejection log, and that goes to the Cisco reps, and then we get credit for that.
Okay. And what do you do when there is a recall? Recently in Arizona, there was a recall with some ladies. What process do you have?
So this actually happens more often than you'd think with it, because we have a huge supply chain and all of our Aramark vendors in different capacities. If there is a recall, we look to see if it's been ordered or if we have any on site. If we do have any on site, everything goes in the trash, and not just the stuff that's in the walk-in or the coolers, but anything that's already prepped or out on the table or is touching that item. We just get rid of all of it, everything that's prepped or anywhere in the kitchen. And then we communicate with the chef. The chef receives the email, and then we go to a different item until that item is deemed safe for purchase.
Okay, so you sound like you are ready. How long have you been in the food service industry?
I have been in the food service industry for 27 years. I started working at my uncle's restaurant as a dishwasher when I was 14, and now I'm the general manager of a property.
Okay, so that means you are ready to go. Okay, and what are you doing now that we are still in this pandemic? What kind of safety measures have you been taking?
Sure, and that's something I wanted to ask you about real quick. Is there a supplemental now on the ServSafe that deals directly with COVID? Or is that still not part of the ServSafe exam?
Not yet, not for the exam. There are certain measures that you can take if you are in a restaurant setting.
Yeah, so what we're doing currently is we have an infrared thermometer. We temp all employees before they clock in. If they're above a certain temperature, we re-temp them in 15 minutes. And if they're not below that temp, then they can't work that day. Obviously, hand washing procedures. All employees are wearing masks in the kitchen, social distancing. We're not serving table service currently. We're only doing to-go items. So, our company has a lot of rigorous standards. And I work in a national park, so we kind of juggle between, we have the federal standards, the state standards, and our local county. Ultimately, we're responsible to the federal government, so they tell us which ones of those they kind of cherry pick of what our responsibilities are.
Okay, and by the way, related to COVID, one thing to remember is like hand washing. It's about 10 to 15 seconds. Scrub your hands between 20 seconds, and the process is between 10 to 15 seconds, because you don't want to be thrown up over there. And how about,
so what
yes, go ahead.
Just real quick on hand washing, we have rigorous standards around that, where every hand washing station, we regularly temp the water, so the water's over 100 degrees, but not too hot. We have hand washing procedures that are posted on the wall. There has to be a waste basket nearby. There's soap, antibacterial soap, and sanitizer available, and paper towels. So that's every hand washing station. And of course, everybody has to do it. Anytime they switch gloves or go on break, or touch their face or hair, or handle different raw or contaminated foods. So we have pretty rigorous standards around that.
Yes, and yeah, that's correct. And hand sanitizer will also is being applied after hand washing, not in lieu of.
Not in place, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes when you are taking the exam, you might see something like that, and it is after, not before. It's like, yeah. Oh, okay. And so, what do you do when someone cuts him or himself prepping in the area? What kind of steps do you take?
So the first step is the health and safety of the employee, to get the employee, if they need medical care, examine what the issue is. We end up ultimately reporting all of that to our risk hotline. The person is, sanitized, washed, antibacterial, bandages, and then have to have a glove over that bandage for every time they have the bandage on. And then, we do a sanitization with quaternary ammonia of any of the blood areas that are affected, and do a good, we sanitize the whole area, the knives, cutting board, the board it was on, and any food that's contaminated. Okay,
very good. One quick question about equipment, or not a question, pretty much a statement. I mean, you can ask me any questions. Equipment should be resistant, non-absorbent, and durable, and resistant to damage, right? Is that, and you are familiar with the NSF, the National Safety Foundation, which is that label that equipment, if equipment has that, it means that it is the FDA clear for catering, anything like that, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, okay. And so have you ever experienced like an interruption in the city, like a water main break or something like that, a fire or flooding? And if so, what have you done?
Yeah, we've had a lot of issues over the years. I mean, one I can think about, is when we have like you said, water main break, when our hot water supply goes down in the kitchen, we just shut our restaurant down. Unfortunately, the kitchen that I work in is pretty ancient, and it doesn't have a 3-compartment sink, so we can't do a wash, sanitize, rinse. We have to just shut down the kitchen, or we go to paper products if that happens.
That's the way to go. That's a good approach. Shut down, wait until the regulatory authority lets you know. By the way, some numbers I want to mention quickly. Sure. If you are like in a salad setting and you have like sneeze guard, so we are talking about like 14 inches from to prevent any contamination from customers. If you have shield, will be 7 inches. And I'm talking about numbers. Any food that you prepare that will be held for 24 hours, you need to date mark. If you prep something today to sell it later on or tomorrow, you need to put a date mark because it's 24 hours. Anything that like seafood, anything like seafood that you buy, you need to keep the tags for 90 days because, and the reason for that is, if the health inspector shows up, the person wants to know whether the fish was raised, farm raised, or wild caught and the like. And in 7 days, any food you prepare, 7 days before you throw it out. You're familiar with that, right?
Correct. Yeah, we have even a little more rigorous standards for our company standards around that.
Yeah, yes.
And we have a machine that we type in all the information and it spits out a label, name of the product, date, person, what it is.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's exactly what the Yeah, that's exactly what ServSafe is all about. Okay, do you have any questions for me? Any other questions?
Just curious how, in the past, I think the other thing that I've kind of got confused on a couple of times is the names of some of the foodborne illnesses, and I'm just curious how much of the exam centers around foodborne illness and symptoms of certain foodborne illness, and if we could review that a little bit.
Oh, certain things you want to be familiar with will be like hepatitis A. Hepatitis A is related to like when people, hepatitis A and norovirus. Those two, they go together because they deal with when people have feces in their fingers or equipment. Equipment for norovirus and hepatitis A for the feces in their fingers. Another thing is like Shigella. Shigella is related to flies. If you have flies going outside and then they come inside, they can bring like feces with them and they will contaminate your food. Another thing is
a bacteria.
Yes, yes, it brings that bacteria. And another thing, oh, by the way, talking about bacteria, 3 things that I want you to know, and those are those contaminants. You have physical, biological, and chemical. Chemical, I'm sure you're familiar with, anything related to bleach, cleaning detergents, and the like. Biological will be like norovirus, but also saliva, anything with fluid, like body fluid and the like. And this is and that's why you are allowed to have like a drinking. You can drink in the prep area as long as you have it covered with a straw. Yes, believe it or not, that's a key term. And
yeah, then things like broken glass and hair and that stuff's all physical.
That would be physical. Anything that like a glass in the eyes, like a sherry pit on a salad, anything that is physical, anything like that, that's physical contamination. So you have those 3 because they always tend to come around. I've taken this exam 3 times, and that's how I know, because I know last time took it in December, and I saw some of them. And and also storing, like you obviously you want to place ready to eat food, also known as a TCS. TCS is for ready to eat food, but also for temperature control safety. Yeah, but if you have a salad or you have like cooked chicken breast, obviously you're gonna put it on the top, then next you put like ground beef. But poultry is the most important thing. Poultry will always go on the bottom because of it will spill, it will drip, and that's why it does storing. Chemical, by the way, OSHA and chemical. OSHA has been added to ServSafe lately because it is related to just to chemical. As you know, OSHA is about safety, but because the chemical component, that's all I wanted to know in that regard.
All right. Question on storage. Poultry always at the bottom, ready to eat foods on top. Then does it go seafood and then beef, or beef and seafood?
You can do it. If it is, you can put seafood on top. You're ready to eat first, and then you can put seafood. You can put pork chops because they don't drip that much. You can put ground beef, and then on the bottom you go with the poultry, chicken, turkey.
I've always learned it as walk, swim, fly.
Yes. Any way you remember it will work for you. And let's see what else. Oh, so you're familiar, everything should be 6 inches off the floor and away from the wall, 6 inches, except when you have like a mounted table, mounted to the floor, that would be 4 inches off the ground.
Okay.
Yes.
What
And
about
there
from the
is
ceiling? Is it 12 or 18 inches from the ceiling for storage?
no 6 inches, 6 inches, because you want to have that air to circulate. But
Yeah, I think our company standards are 12 to 18, but
yeah, so for
no,
the
that works.
ServSafe sake, it will be a 6. You will unlikely see 12 or 18. Yes, and carving is basically like a seal that you put in between the wall and the floor to avoid any insects like mouse, rats to come through, pests. Yes, any other question or clarification that you would like?
Let's see. Real quick, as far as final temperature goes, stuffed mixed products at 155. Is that correct?
It's between 141 and 135. Anything hot will go. Let's talk quickly about temperatures. Anything like poultry, chicken, duck, turkey will be 165 that you cook.
165. Yep.
And then anything like ground beef, a hamburger, it's 155. Also, if you cook eggs that you are gonna be holding for later, that'll be 155. And then you go down and you go like pork chops, veals, and fish and eggs, 145. But you see the difference is that eggs that are cooked to serve immediately will be 145, whereas eggs that will be hot will be 155. But think about fish and steak like veal, lamb, that's 145. And then you go with legumes, pasta, rice, beans, and all the things, it would be like 135. But then anything that is cold, it will be 41 or below. Cheese, ham and cheese sandwiches, salads, watermelon, anything like that would be 100. Will be 41.
So specifically, I'm generally good with the temperatures, but there's specifically, I just want a reminder. I think I can pull it up, but it's there's two different things that aren't just regular meats. It's like stuffed meat and ground meat. Like stuffed products have to be 155.
Yeah, anything that's stuffed in it, like fish or pasta in a dish, is 165.
Stuffed
Yes.
is 165, and then ground meat is 155.
Yes, yes, correct.
Okay, I'm good.
Oh, okay, so